Yeah, good evening, everyone. Can you all hear me? Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks a lot for confirming. Okay, yeah, Venkata. Thank you. Yeah, welcome all for the session 6. We will continue yesterday's session of basics of Java. Okay. Yeah. Let's see what do we have in today's session. Can you all hear me? Am I audible? Can you all hear me clearly? Just to confirm one more time. Okay. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Okay, let's see what do we got, what do we have for today's session. Okay, so we will continue our journey of understanding basics of Java with another program. So what are the things that we are going to cover today is what are variables, what do you mean by a statement, value, assignment operator, okay, variables, addresses and values, how they can be assumed, okay, that we will see, and what are Java strings, that is basic idea on what Java strings are, and there are something called as appending operators for strings, okay, we will see appending not operators, operator, okay, and we continue with our discussion by discussing two control statements, that is if statement and for statement, okay, then we will see what are arithmetic and logical operators and what are code blocks. Okay, so let's recap what we did in last class. So we understood some basic elements of Java programming. We saw how Java program is written, the naming conventions for Java program, okay, for file name convention, how we saw how to compile and run a Java program, and basic concepts like classes, commands, access specifiers, methods, all those things are the same, right? Yeah. Let's move on to today's session. Before I start today's session, I would like to correct the mistake which I made in last class. Okay, what the mistake that I made was with respect to definition of a class in a file. Okay, as we know, we can define multiple classes in a particular file. Okay, but you can define only one class which is public within that particular file. Okay, for example, you have we will see that example. Okay, we'll see that example when we start, when I start the practicals. Okay, once we cover this basics of today's basic session, the Java basic session, I will start the practicals, then I will show you what I mean. Okay, so let's start with the another simple Java program. Here we have a class, that is the class name is another simple class. Okay, so as we know, like all the code in Java is written within a class. Okay, first we have to define a class, and then we have to write whatever the code that we need to write within a class. Okay, we know what is a method. Here the starting point of execution for Java programs is nothing our main program. Okay, so we have defined the not main program, main function, okay, or method. Okay, so then we have defined one variable. We will see very soon what exactly is a variable, how to define a variable, and syntax for defining a variable. Okay, and then we have assigned a value. This is an integer value, this is a variable, num is a variable. Okay, so how we know that num is an integer variable? This defines int is an integer. It represents an integer. Okay, integer is nothing but a whole number, or you can say like a number, not a real number. Okay, and then what we are doing in this particular statement, system.out.println or print line, we are displaying the number, whatever the value that is there in num, variable num. Okay, and what next are we doing? We are multiplying the current value of num variable by 2 and storing it in the same variable, that is num. Okay, and then we are displaying the current value of the variable num. Okay, we will start our discussion with this program in our mind. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Hope all of you can see my screen, right? Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, okay. So let us see what are variables. Okay, yesterday in our discussion, I told you, I took an example of algebraic expression, right? Whichever it could be. I took a simple example like y is equal to x square. Okay, here y and x are variables. Okay, whenever you change a value of x, correspondingly the value of y will change. Okay, say for example, if x is 1, the value of y will be 1. X is 2, value of y will be 4. Okay, it continues. So what are we doing here? We are changing the value of x, and correspondingly the value of y is changing. Okay, so we can say that when this x and y are placeholders for different values that we can assign it, and the values of y we will get correspondingly accordingly. Okay, so in computer it is the same thing. Okay, so variables means something where we can store a value and we can change the value. Who can change it? You can change the value in that particular location, say for example x or y, okay, using your program. Okay, so in our one of our discussion related to microprocessors, right, we have covered briefly about memories, right, physical memories, primary memory and secondary memory, all those things. So these memories are nothing but, what do you do with those memories? You store some data, okay, some information in those memories. Okay, so these memories will have two things associated with it. One is the location where you can store the value. Okay, it's a location where you can store a value, and you can identify that particular memory location with a memory address. Okay, you can identify a memory location with an address associated with it. Otherwise, you will not be able to get the value that is stored in that particular memory location. Okay, so for example, you have a house. Okay, so you will have address for that particular house, right? In an apartment, you have one building. In that building, you will have say for example 3-4 apartments. Okay, so for those apartments, you will give different numbers: 101, 102, 103, 104, 201 to 204, 301 to 304. If there are multiple stories, right? Multiple stories. Okay, similar to that one, you will have address for each memory location, which is nothing but a number to identify the location of that particular memory location. Okay, these memory locations are nothing but, as I told, these are all electronic devices, right? Memory, hard disk, or physical memory, your RAM, whatever is electronic, right? They're all, the basic unit is your transistor. Okay, that is switched on or off. Okay, so that's what you like. When you see an array of location where you can store your value, the value is dependent based on whether it is switched on or switched off. Okay, 0 or 1, whatever the value that you have stored in the particular. Okay, the address is also specified in zeros and ones. Okay, that is also specified in zeros and ones. So we give name to this address. We will not be able to kind of like remember or access the value through those particular addresses which are in binary. Because of that, we give names to those addresses or location. Okay, specifically we name that location. Okay. Internally, what happens? The program or the JVM takes the address and or it associates the address of a memory location with the name that you give to that memory location. Okay. So what is happening here? Your memory address, which is used to identify the location, is associated with the name that you give it to your memory location. We will see how that is done. Okay. So what is the advantage of a memory location? You can store any value or some value in that particular memory location. Okay. So named memory location is nothing but your variable. Okay. So another important thing is, why do we call it as a variable? That memory location, you assign a value, right? You can change the value of that memory location using your program over a period of time during the execution of your program. Okay. Let us see the syntax. Syntax is nothing but the rule that you have to follow for either declaring a class or defining a class, defining variables, whatever it is. Okay. You have to follow those things in order for your compiler to compile without any errors. Okay. In order for your program to run successfully, you have to follow certain rules. We discussed right yesterday or previous to that one, like when we are speaking or when we are communicating with others, we use words and we follow some rules for forming sentences to communicate or whatever we want to communicate it to others. Right? Similar to that one, to form any statement within a program, we have to follow certain rules. That is what we call it as syntax. Okay. So how do you declare a variable? Okay. Declaring is nothing but you kind of like write a statement saying like, okay, this is a variable of this particular type. Okay. So type is nothing but a data type. Okay. Data type is nothing but the type of your variable. What kind of variable is that? Okay. What is the value that you can store in that particular variable? Okay. It could be integers. Okay. It could be your real numbers with decimal points. Okay. It could be strings. Okay. It could be characters, single characters. Okay. It could be any other object, Java object. We will see what are those Java objects. Okay. But whenever you are defining a variable or declaring a variable, okay, you must tell what is the type of that variable. Okay. You must tell what is the type of that variable. Type represents the value, the type of the value that you are storing in that particular variable. Okay. Variable always is associated with the memory location. Okay. Whenever you say a variable, you should think of a memory location or a place where you store a particular value of particular type. Okay. For example, the syntax for that one is, you first you specify the data type as shown in the slide, and then give a space, and then you specify the name of the variable. Okay. This variable name is nothing but your identifier to identify a particular memory location. Okay. Who grabs the address of the particular memory location and assigns it to your variable? That all is taken care by your environment, which is nothing but your Java runtime environment. Okay. So here the examples that is shown in this particular slide is int num. Okay. That is num is an integer. Okay. That means num is a variable. It is pointing, or it is referring to, or it is a name given to a address of a memory location where you can store an integer. Okay, where you can store an integer. Next one is float and double. All both of these float and double are your real numbers. You can store real numbers with the decimal points. Okay. The number of bytes that are associated with each data type, we will see that one in our further session. These are just the basics. These are these sessions like yesterday's and today's session is just to give you a basic introduction to your Java programming language. Okay, we will see what are the number of bytes that are associated with each data type, that is int, float, and double, right, in our next sessions. Okay, so this is how we define a variable of a specific data type in Java. Okay, so declaration, as you can see, each declaration ends with a semicolon. Okay, each declaration ends with a semicolon, and each line represents a single statement. Okay, so now we will see what is a statement. Statement is nothing but a single instruction, or you can consider that as a kind of like action that needs to be carried out or taken. Okay, what we are doing here, we are telling JRE or environment to declare a variable by name where you can store an integer, or you want a memory location where you can store an integer and name it as NUM. Okay, what your Java environment does is it randomly picks up one memory location, okay, and assigns this num to that particular memory location. Okay, and it allocates certain number of bytes in that memory location for storing the value, the type of the value. Okay, here integer. Okay, let us assume integer takes 4 bytes of integer needs 4 bytes to store a value. Okay, so what your Java runtime environment does, it randomly picks, all these things are happening in your physical memory. Okay, it randomly picks 4 bytes of memory in your RAM or physical memory and allocates those things, and then it gives a name NUM to those 4 bytes of memory location. Okay, 4 bytes. That is where you can store your integer value. Okay, so how do you store an integer value? Okay, you assign a value to a variable using what is known as assignment operator. Okay, assignment operator is nothing but a single equal sign. Okay, single equal sign. Normally, whenever we write equal, right, it means like we are assigning some or we are comparing two things, left hand side with the right hand side, right? So that is assignment operator in programming language. Okay, in Java programming language. Okay, so in the syntax for that is you just specify a variable name and then equals to, and then you specify the value what you have to store in that particular variable name or in that variable. Okay, but this value has to be of type which is declared while specifying the data type of that particular variable. For example, in num, what is the data type that we have defined for num? That is integer. Okay, we can store 100, that is an integer, in num. Okay, so can we store real number in num? We will see that. Okay, when we get to that point, we will see that what happens when we try to save real number to an integer. Okay, so these are the two important syntaxes that you should remember. Okay, that is data type space variable name declares your variable. Data type is nothing but the type of the value that you are going to store in a particular memory location. Okay. Okay. So let's move on to the next slide. After these basics are done, I'll show you with a simple example, and or we will try to do some more examples to show each and everything whatever we have discussed. Okay. Let's move on to the next slide. Okay. So this is just a simple representation. Okay. This is just to visualize how we can store value in memory address. Okay. Assume that this is your the name of the name you are giving it to memory location. This is the address. Okay. This is the address of that particular memory location, and this is the these are the memory locations in which you store the values, that is 0001. Okay. Okay, we will see how that values are values. Okay, Muhammad Abid is asking how we can free that allocated memory. Okay, yeah, you can kind of like, there is something called as garbage collection in Java. Okay, we will discuss those things when we discuss about garbage collection. Okay. Okay. Okay, Muhammad. Yeah. So I would like to tell, like, we are kind of like going through the very basics of the Java programming language. Okay, very basics. Because we have students who are not from a computer science background. Okay, so you might be from computer science background, and you can understand all these things very quickly. Okay, so there are students who are not from computer science background. They have to understand from very basic things. So that is why we are kind of like trying to explain each and everything starting from the scratch, you can say. Okay, so let us take an example of the microprocessor or processor that we discussed in our one of our previous sessions, that is 8085. Okay, so that is a 8-bit microprocessor. Okay, so assuming that one, you can see that these are all 8 bits, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, these are 8 bits. Okay, we are using 8 bits. We are assuming 8 bits are 1 byte. One byte is nothing but 8 bits. Okay, we are assuming 8 bits just for our convenience. Okay, so let us assume your RAM has kind of like it is 8 bits, and it's an 8-bit array. Okay, you have this whole thing is called an array. Okay, it will have your rows and columns. Okay, these are called as vertical lines are called as columns, and horizontal lines are called as rows. Okay, horizontal lines are rows, vertical lines are columns. Okay, this rows represents one particular value. Okay, one whole row represents one particular value. Okay, so this is one value, this is one value, third value, fourth value, fifth value, sixth value, seventh value, and it depends on the size of your RAM. It goes on. Okay, always assume it is just a pictorial representation of how the memory works. Okay, that is for our understanding. Okay, it need not have to be this way, but this is depicted, or it is shown pictorially or diagrammatically for our understanding. Okay, the rows represents a value, and horizontal or vertical columns represent your different values. Okay, this is a row, these are columns. Okay, so each row is assigned the address, so that you can using that address you can get the value. Okay, but if you want to directly reference this address, okay, or if you want to kind of like if you know the address of a particular memory location, you can directly give okay, but it is difficult, okay, because your Java runtime environment is randomly picking whichever is free, right? Whichever the memory location is free, it randomly picks it, and then it assigns, it takes the address of that one, okay, and then stores the value, okay. But since that is difficult for us or to remember, okay, say for example, in a programming language, random runtime environment gives you an address, like assume this address, okay, this particular address, and it will give you that address. You will have some way to kind of like get that address, and then you proceed further. You are not, there is no concept of variable naming or all these things, okay. But over a period of time, if you write one sentence, second, third, fourth sentence, you start thinking, what is that address? What is that address? You can't remember all those things, right? Because of that, people have come up with the concept of variables. So naming the addresses, okay, or the locations, okay. So this is what it shows. What you are doing is, for this address, you are giving this name, okay. Num is a name given to this address, which can be used to access the value stored in this particular location, okay. This is the memory location, this is the address, this is the name given to this memory location to access the value that is stored in this particular memory location, okay. For example, this represents, this is a binary number for 1, this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, okay. That's what we have stored. This is one value, num has 1, num 1 has 2, num 2 has 3, and it goes on. Num 6 has 7. That is decimal. This represents binary numbers. The decimal equivalent, we know how to do that, right? This is just a diagrammatic view of your memory location. Memory location, its address, and the variables that we specify, okay? Okay, let us see, we have seen what are variables, what are memory locations, how to declare a variable, how to assign a value to a variable, okay, using assignment operator. Okay, let us see what are Java strings on a high level, okay. Strings are nothing but sequence of characters, okay. So sequence of characters is nothing but your, you see like English letters, right? Here we can see English letters. Not only English letters, yeah, Mohammed, what do you mean by default? So you mean to say by default strings are within double quotes? Okay, let me unmute you. Yeah, I have unmuted you, Mohammed. You can ask your question. Yeah, what do you mean by default? With respect to strings, you mean by default, or it is it the no? Can you extend your question? Is it by default? Yeah, by default, whatever is within double quotes, that is considered as string. Okay, that is the syntax for Java. Okay, for other languages also it may be same, but when we consider Java, anything that is within double quotes is considered as string. Okay, not this slide. Okay, what is that in previous slide? Let's go to the previous slide. What is the one you are asking? Yeah, we have gone to the previous slide. What is your question on this previous slide? Yeah, you can speak. I have unmuted you. You can speak a bit. Oh, not this slide as well? Okay. Okay, so what is this one? What is the question here? Is this the slide you are referring? I mean, if you can speak, others can hear. Otherwise, they have to see the chat window, right? I have unmuted you. I'm not sure whether you are speaking. Okay, this slide only. Okay, so what is the question you have? Is it by default means for with reference to what? No, I did not. I still did not get. Okay, so okay, the question which Mohammed is asking is, what I am asking is like how can we know about address of memory location? Yeah, that's what I told you, right? It is the responsibility of Java runtime environment, not our responsibility. Or what Java runtime environment does is, it picks up a memory which is free. Okay, it picks up a memory which is free, and it looks at the address of that memory location, free memory location, where you can store your value. Okay, and then it gives name to that memory location. Or you can say that variable will have the address of the memory location where you want to store your value. Okay, actually you can play with memory addresses, actual memory addresses in C and C++, not with the variables. But I don't want to give not with the Java program because of kind of like dangers that are associated with the directly handling the memory addresses, right? That particular thing is eliminated in Java. Okay, like directly accessing the memory address of a memory location. Okay, we'll not discuss much about C and C++ because yesterday I understood like some people will get confused, like they have to learn C or C++ for learning Java. That is not at all a requirement. Okay, so that is why I always from now onwards I'll try to minimize my reference to C or C++ or other programming language with respect to Java. Okay, so that's what happens. What exactly happens is internally what exactly happens is we will not have access, direct access to the memory address of a memory location. Okay, memory address of a memory location, but Java runtime environment, or at the core we have JVM, right? Java Virtual Machine. That is the one which actually handles your assigning. What actually happens is like it internally kind of like links your memory address to the name that you give it to that location. Okay, through which you can kind of access the value. Okay. Okay, this is how the I mean, you can assume this is how the memory looks. Yeah, you can assume like this is the value, this part is the value where you can store, and this is the address, and this is the variable name that you give. Okay, ideally like this num will have the address, this particular address, which you cannot see directly. Okay, even if you try to print, it prints the value of the location where the particular variable is referring to. Okay, that is in Java. Okay, let us see what are strings. Strings are nothing but a sequence of characters that are defined within double quotes. Okay, so we see a starting double quote and we see a ending double quote. Okay, anything between these two double quotes is considered as string. Okay, here these are we call it as characters, not letters or numbers or something like that. Okay, because space is also a character. Here we have a space, right? Single space. Okay, similar to that one, there are so many other characters like percentage, you have a slash, backslash, whatever, whatnot. Okay, there are so many characters. Okay, so that is why we call it as characters. Anything that is within double quotes is considered as a string. Okay, for example, this is an example of a string, is a string. Okay, this is another example of a string, is another example, another string. Okay, because we have enclosed those things in double quotes. Okay, so there is a operator to concatenate different strings, to join different strings together and make a single string. Okay, that operator is called as string appending operator. Okay, so string appending operator is R plus. Okay, when you have a string, Okay, that is some characters, sequence of characters within the double quotes, and you use plus with another string, it joins those two strings or concatenates those two strings and gives you another single string. Okay, for example, I have concatenated this string and this string, and when you concatenate, this is an example of a string plus this is another example of a string, we will get this is an example of a string. Note that there is no space between this string and this. Okay, so this is an example. This is an example of a string. This is another example of a string. Okay, how can you add a space between them? You can just specify a space after string. Okay, here either you can specify at this location a space or at this location a space. Then you will see like this is an example of a string space. This is another example of a string. Okay, so we have stored, assume that we have stored a value of 100 in NUM. That is a variable where we can store our integer value. I'm stressing it is an integer value because we have specified the data type of num as int. Okay, so what is the meaning of what is the use of storing a value in a memory location? Okay, so you have to use that, right? To use that value, you have to get that value. Okay, how do you get that value? By just naming the value within a statement. Okay, so how do you access a value stored in a particular variable? You just mention that in any expression or in system.out.println. If you want to print it, you can mention that in our system.out.print line, and you can say that within that you can pass that variable in that particular function or method. Okay, here what we are trying to do, we are trying to access the value stored in NUM and append it to the string value of num. This is a string because that is enclosed within double quotes. So what exactly is happening at this place? What we are doing, we are kind of like appending or concatenating two strings. Okay, when you use plus, yeah, Ron is asking, can we use any numbers in a string within double quotes? Yes, we can use. Okay, that is why we call it as characters. That's why I told we call it as characters, not numbers or letters or any other things. Okay, you can use anything for that matter if you include within double quotes. It could be your letters, it could be your characters, or it could be your numbers, it could be like a percentage, whatever it is. Whatever you want to put it within double quotes, that becomes a string. Okay, so anything, even if you don't mention anything, if you just put double quotes without even single space, that becomes an empty string. Okay, so even if you can put a single space within double quotes, okay, that also becomes a white space string. Okay, single space string. Okay, so how do you access a value in a variable? You just name it like I have named it here. Okay, NUM. So this value, what exactly, the very important point to understand here is we are using plus here. Okay, this plus is kind of what we can call it as, is given a different meaning. Plus is given a different meaning based on the context in which we are using. Okay, say for example, when we are using, that is only in Java. Okay, when we are using plus in arithmetic expression, say for example, I am adding two numbers A and B. Okay, how do you make an expression, arithmetic expression? You use numbers or variables or whatever, and then use your arithmetic operators, plus, minus, whatever other things. Okay, you use operators, that is plus, minus, whatever it is, and then operands on which this particular operator operates, right? So when you are using arithmetic or numbers with plus, that the Java language knows to add those two numbers, okay? But you have say for example you have give me a second, I'll just try to explain it in better way. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, can you all see my notepad? Okay, can you all see my notepad? Okay, so what I'm trying to tell here is, okay, I'm trying to add 2 plus 3. Okay, so here these two are numbers. Okay, so the context is we are doing arithmetic operation. Okay, here we are trying to add two numbers, so we are trying to do some arithmetic operation. Okay, so Java is intelligent enough to understand the context in which we are using this plus operator. Okay, so it will give you the result 5. Okay, so here is our operator, these two are our operands. Okay, so this is our left hand side operand, this is our right hand side operand. Okay, so whenever you have at least one operand that is a string, okay, the other will get converted it into a string, and then it gets concatenated with the string. For example, okay, so let us see this one. Okay, I have, this is the string, right? Value of num is a string. This is plus. So as soon as it sees one string, Java knows that this has to be used as appending operator, not as addition operator. Okay, so num is an integer variable. Okay, what the Java does is it fetches or it grabs the data that is stored in the memory location referred by num. Okay, value stored in the memory location referred by num and converts that into string. Okay, and then appends that string to value of num string. So this is how it happens. Value of num, okay, plus, assume that we have stored 100 in num. Okay, this becomes 100. Okay, this is the this is the answer to Ron's question. Okay, can we store number within a string? Okay, this is how the value that is stored in num gets converted into 100, and then we will get a single string, that is num 100. Okay, this will become a single string. Okay, hope all of you got this concept. Whenever it can be like this. Okay, in this case, what happens? Okay, it becomes like this. For example, you want to specify like it is $100. Okay, $100. This will become which in turn will become okay. The result is a final string, concatenated string. Okay, a single string with all the things that you concatenate. Okay, one more important thing, you can use this operator for concatenating not only two strings or not only two numbers, you can concatenate multiple strings. For example, so let us see value, okay, space, I will give another string of space, okay, another num space, okay, then num, okay. So this will become, this will give this string, okay. Not only that one, you can try, yeah, you can try, correct, yeah, Pragati, yeah, we can try all combinations, permutations and combinations, okay. You can try, these are just a few things which I have tried here. You can try all other things. For example, you can give this plus, okay, num plus num1 plus num2 plus num3, okay. You can give like that, but at least one operand should be a string. If you remove this particular thing, Java considers this as arithmetic operation, and it adds the values that are stored in these variables, okay, all these three variables. Hope you have got what I'm trying to explain, okay. Please let me know if you have any questions regarding this, okay. Okay, Mohammed is asking another question. Can you let me know about console? What do you want to know about console? Yesterday in our class, I explained about system.out.println. Okay, what is that system.out.println? System is a class. Okay, like we defined another simple class, system is a class. Okay, it is a Java defined, or Java people who created Java, right? They have written a code for this particular class, that is system. Okay, that system gives access to your system, actual system, physical system. That is, it could be your laptop, it could be your desktop, whatnot. Okay, so out is a, what do you call as, a member of system class. It is a variable, okay, similar to the variable which we have declared in our example class. Okay, this is not just a simple variable. We will discuss what is that static. Okay, this is a static member of system class. Okay, how do I know that it is a static member of system class? Because we are directly accessing that variable, out variable. Okay, it is actually an object of what are known as output string. Okay, we will not get into those things because those are little complicated concepts. Okay, we will see when we discuss about inputs and outputs in Java. Okay, so this is a static member of system class which refers to your terminal in Unix, or console in your, or you can say console for both Windows command prompt or Unix terminal or shell. Okay, what it does, it actually connects, it's an output stream which you can assume like it's a stream. Stream is what you will see, like a stream of water, right, where water is flowing, right? Similar to that one, it is an output stream which connects to your command prompt in Windows or console or terminal in, or your shell in Unix, and it prints out whatever you have mentioned or whatever the string you specify in your println method. println method is a function, or it is like a main method what we have declared in our simple class, right? It is our main method, similar to our main method. This is also a method that is declared in or defined in output stream, which is a member of system class. Okay, for example, assume that somebody has written a code like this. Okay, we'll open a curly bracket and curly bracket. Okay, then you have defined a static member of this. Okay, assume, because we are directly accessing it. Okay, member private static what it contains, how it refers to your console or command prompt, we will not bother about it as of now. Okay, since, and this is the output stream. Please note this is the output stream. Okay, how do you know that this is output stream? This in turn is a class. Okay, it could be, we will not get into all those things. It is, there are different types of class, abstract class, inner class, all those things we will discuss in our future sessions. Okay, so let us say we have okay, this is also a class. In that you have a method called okay, like this, which takes string as parameter, okay, and it does some operations. Okay, so can you all see? I mean, is it visible whatever I am typing here, or you want me to increase the font size? Yeah, okay, it's visible. Okay, so that is what, this is what actually happens. Okay, system is a class which will have a variable defined. We will see what are these variables. Okay, these are called class variable, class variables or instance variables. What are those things? When we see or when we discuss about class exclusively, what are classes exclusively, we will see what are the static variables, what are instance variables. Okay, all those things we will see. Each thing has its own importance. Because of that only those features are included within the programming language. Okay, so this is what we are doing here is we are trying to instantiate or declare a variable of out is nothing but a variable of data type output stream. Okay, here output stream is a class. In our first class where we discussed classes, right? Or I think it is yesterday only. So I told whatever you define in a class, okay, whenever you define a class, that becomes a data type. Okay, means that is not a system defined data type, it's a user defined data type. Okay, that becomes a data type which you can assign it to any variable, like you assigned integer int to num, float to some float, double to some double. Okay, like that you assign, right, data type. Similar to that one, whatever the data type that you create using a class is nothing but a data type that you create, which is called as user created data type. Okay, you can assign that data type to any variable. For example, if I have a class like public class object test, okay, I can declare a variable of type system SYS. Okay, I can declare a variable of type system. It is valid because this is a class which defines a data type. Okay, I can have a variable which can refer to system. Okay, so what Java people have done is, through this statement, system dot out dot print line, we will see what are these dots. Okay, when we discuss about classes, why do we use those dots? Okay, that is a way of accessing your class members. Okay, that's a way of accessing your class members. Okay, so println is a method in out class which is a member in system class, which is used to print a string on your console or your command prompt or your terminal in Unix. Okay, did you all get this point? So if anyone has any questions, please let me know. We will stop our session at this point, and tomorrow there will not be a class. I have some personal things to take care, so tomorrow we will not have class, and probably by Saturday we will have class. If you can communicate your availability, right, or we will let you know when the class will be on Saturday. Okay, we will continue this discussion on Saturday because I have some things to take care. Okay, so that's why I will not be available tomorrow. So we will continue this discussion on Saturday. Okay, we will stop this session here. If you have any questions, please ask in whatever the points that we have discussed. Okay, I'll take another 5 minutes to just show you this particular program. Okay. Okay, this is a we discussed about arithmetic operator, right? So let us go to arithmetic operators. Okay, so I'll just give you a brief idea. Okay, so arithmetic basic arithmetic operators are normal. We know arithmetic operations, right? Whatever we do, arithmetic operators, we are familiar with our mathematics, right? So what are the basic arithmetic operators that we are familiar? Addition, subtraction, division, and multiplication. Okay, addition, subtraction, division, multiplication. We can use the same thing in our program as well. Okay, let me try to explain this. Okay, I have defined one class which is nothing but a data type. Okay, you can use this data type to declare any variable. For example, you can declare here itself. That's it. Okay, you can declare a variable like that, variable of this type. Okay, here this will become a statement. This will become a statement. Okay, one important thing to note here is every statement that you write must end with a semicolon. Otherwise, it will become an error. Let us see how is that. See here, it is showing an error here. Okay, syntax error. It is showing syntax error. Insert semicolon to complete class body declaration. Okay, it clearly says that is the advantage of using your IDE. Okay, when you are using your normal editor, those things will not show you all these messages. It will not even show you that this particular statement has some syntax issues. Okay, so that is the advantage. These are all the things that are made to help developers. Okay, so that their productivity is improved. Okay, otherwise what we have to do, we have to write class like this, compile it. Once you try to compile, you will see that error. Then you go back and correct that error, and then again compile. Okay, so then you will get the result, or you will get the successful compilation. Okay, otherwise, say for example, this is just for one error. If you have written 100 lines of code, and if you have around 10 lines of errors, 10 lines of syntax errors, which you don't notice using normal editor, what you have to do, you have to kind of like fix all those things and then compile your program and fix all those things one by one, right? But in IDEs, you can easily see, as soon as you make a mistake, it will show you that there is a syntax issue. You can fix it. Not only syntax issue, there will be other issues also. We will discuss when we are discussing. Okay, the same program that we discussed just now, I have written it in IDE, and let me execute this. Okay, so it gives you the values, corresponding values. We are printing this corresponding value here. Okay, what we are trying here, we are declaring a variable of type integer where we can store the value, integer value, and we are storing 100 in num. Num is nothing but, now it is analogous to your memory location, which is nothing but a memory location. Whenever you declare a variable, assume or think that it is a memory location where you can store your number, okay, or not only number, whatever it is, okay, value, okay. So what value that you store in that memory location is defined using your data type. When you say that a variable is of type int, we can store integer values. When you say that it is of type float, you can store a real number. If it is a double, you can store a real number with more precision than you specify in your float. We'll discuss all those things when we get into variable, different data types, all those things. Okay. So this is the equals is an assignment operator. So I just assigned 100 to it, and then I'm printing it. That is what is displayed here using the system.out.println. And then what I'm doing, for the value that is stored in num, as I told you, you can just name the variable, or just mention the variable name which you've given for the variable. That will give you the value that is stored in that particular variable memory location. Okay, and you can use arithmetic operator, multiplication. I'm using multiplication here, and I'm multiplying the value that is stored in num by 2. I'm storing the same value in num. Okay, so I'm displaying, similarly I'm displaying the value in this one. Okay, using system.out.println. That's what is getting displayed here. Okay, yesterday Mohammed asked whether we can declare multiple public classes in a file. So okay, we have another simple class .java, that is the file name, that is the name of this public class. Okay, let us try to define another class within this public class. Okay, so I have like it should end, and all the code that we write within a class, right, that should be within your curly braces. Okay, that should be within your curly braces as we discussed in our first class. So we write, so this is the starting curly brace, this is the end of curly brace. So you can see it clearly shows that this is an error. Okay, what does it say? The public type test public class must be defined in its own file. Okay, Pragati is asking, can you please explain the use of statement again, which you created using class name declared a variable? Okay, so okay, let me finish this public class. Okay, and then we will get to your question, Pragati. Okay, so yesterday when I told we can declare or we can define multiple public classes in a file. Okay, that is wrong. You can have only one public class within a file. Okay, so here we can clearly see that it is an error. It shows that it is a syntax error. It is saying like public type. Whenever you say a type, that is like your data type. Okay, data type we call it as just type as a shorthand. Okay, type is nothing but your data type. Whenever you see a word type, it is not like typing. Okay, you're using your keyboard, you're typing, right? It is not that type. It is a data type. Okay, I was just kidding. So it is a data type. So the public type test public class, okay, must be defined in its own class. Okay, what happens if you remove this public? Let us see. Now that error is gone, right? So you can have multiple classes within a single file. That is another simple class.java. You can have another class also. Okay, multiple means it really means multiple. Okay, you can have multiple classes. Okay, but there should be only one class which is of public. Okay, there should be one public class and other classes can be normal classes. Okay, this is called I mean, we will see what is this. We haven't defined any access specifier to this. There is something called as default access specifiers. We will see that one. Okay, so this is a public class. The name of this file should be the name of this public class. Okay, so now let's get into the question Pragati asked. Okay, so as I told you, statement is nothing but an action that has to be taken by your Java. Okay, action. It is an action that has to be taken by your Java. So why do you write? Why do you actually write programs? Okay, you want something to be done or achieved using your programs, right? You want some problem to be solved or you want something to be done by your system, right? So that is why you write programs. Okay, so how do you achieve those things? Okay, you achieve those things by writing a set of statements. Okay, you say okay, this is what you have to do, you want to do, and then you write those sequence of statements. Yesterday I think you only pinged, right? What is a program? Sequence of statements. Okay, statement is nothing but a single action that needs to be taken by your, you can call it as program. Okay, when it is executing, which is nothing but which gets converted into your machine instruction. Okay, which is actually kind of like gets executed by your processor. Okay, an action that needs to be taken care. Okay, let us see what is that here. Okay, let us take an example of this statement. Okay, what are we trying to tell with this statement? We are asking Java to check whether there is any free space, free memory location available to us. Okay, what we will do with that, we are not bothered at this point in time. Okay, JVM or JRE or Java, as we call it as simply, should take some action on this particular statement. Okay, so what Java does is, it simply kind of like grabs the memory location or address of the memory location which is free, where you can store your integer, which is defined by your int data type. Okay, so Pragati, did you understand what I explained? Okay, we added the statement, another simple class, a simple class variable. Correct. Yeah. Okay, this is the one which you are referring, right? Okay, what if we didn't use that? Nothing. I just this is an example which I showed for the class which we defined. Okay, so what I told, whatever the class that you define, okay, that will be called as user defined data type. Okay, here what is this? This is a data type, right? Yeah, so num is a variable of type integer, okay, where you can store integer numbers, okay. Similarly, a simple class variable is a, or we call it as the reference, okay. A simple, or you can simply call it as a variable, okay. This is a variable of type another simple class. Another simple class is nothing but a simple class which we have defined, which we call it as user defined data type, okay. What you can store in this, that's an interesting thing, okay. You cannot store a value, okay. It represents an object, okay. Classes, okay. Class is nothing but a class. As I told you yesterday, I told you an example, right? Human. We have two things in object-oriented programming. One is defining a feature of a particular class. For example, humans, okay. You say humans, basic features will be there, okay. They'll have two legs, two hands, whatever it is, whatever you can think of, right? You can define those features, okay. It is like a poet has written a poem, okay. Not necessarily that poem needs to be true, okay. Say for example, he has written a poem and fortunately or unfortunately, whatever he has defined exists on this earth, not one, multiple things, okay. Whatever the poem that we are referring is nothing but your class definition, okay. The poem written on your paper is nothing but a class definition, okay. But what you see on earth, what I mean, say for example, he has defined, I mean, he has written a poem on someone, and you see that the exact person on this earth, okay, male or female, whoever it is, okay, exact person on this earth, not one single but multiple. They will become an object of this poem, okay. Class represents your written poem on your paper, and these people who kind of like who exactly matches the description that is written on that poem, right, they become object of this particular poem, okay. And those objects will be, we call it, we will discuss these things, just I am just giving you high level description of these things, okay. Just trying to kind of like give you an idea on how these things work in object oriented programming, and why, I mean, what is the basis of object oriented programming, okay. So let us see, this poem is a class, and then these people are objects of this particular class, okay. In computer science, these objects occupy some memory, right? Say for example, we measure that memory in terms of bytes, okay. For example, I told you integer occupies, for example, I told you integer occupies 4 bytes of memory, okay. Assume that this poem occupies 10 bytes of memory, okay, 10 bytes of memory. Or for that matter, assume that your another class, when you create an object of this particular class, okay, we will discuss this also. I'll just give you an example, okay, how to create an object, okay. So let us take this example only, okay. We'll create objects like this, okay. This is an operator, new. New is an operator. It creates an object in your physical memory, that is your RAM. Means it knows how many bytes of memory is needed for this class object, okay, for this class object, okay. It allocates that set of memory in your RAM and returns, as we mentioned, a reference or the address for that particular set of memory. That is, assume that another simple class takes 10 bytes of memory. Okay, it checks, it grabs the 10 bytes of memory and takes the address of that memory. And in our diagram, right, we have taken only 1 byte of memory, similar to that one. And horizontally, we told it is it represents one particular value. Okay, assume that you have 10 such bytes in one row or horizontal row. Okay, that bytes of memory, and you have one associated address to that 10 bytes of memory. Okay, one row or one horizontal set of allocations, that is 1 byte into 10, that is 80 bits. 1 byte is 8, 10 bytes is 10 into 1 byte into 8 bits. So 80 bits it allocates for storing the object of this particular class. We will discuss these things in detail in our future class. Okay, and then that particular 80 bits of memory location will have one particular address associated with it, similar to this one. Here we have discussed, here we are showing 8 bits, right? Here we are showing 8 bits, similar to that one. We will have 80 bits and corresponding address to that. Okay, what this new operator does is, it allocates that memory location for storing the object created for this particular class, another simple class, and it grabs the address of that memory location and assigns it to a simple class variable. Okay, now we call this as a either variable or a reference. Okay, reference to that memory location. 80 bits of memory location, or 100 bits of memory location, or 10 bytes of memory location, where you can store your object of a particular class. Yeah, did you understand, Pragati? Okay, so we will discuss these things in detail. Okay, with the diagrams and all, to make it more clear when we discuss about the classes. Okay, as I mentioned, we are discussing only the very basics of Java. Okay, we are only very basics. We're still in very basics of Java. Once we kind of like understand fully all about all these basics, right, we can dive into those little complicated concepts. Okay, that will become easier for you to understand when you understand these basics. Also, you have to make it a practice that you give comments like this. Okay, these comments like this wherever you are doing, right, these comments, it makes others' life easier when they try to there are things like in IT field, right, you write programs, that is your development, and there is a phase where you have to maintain, or somebody else have to maintain whatever is written, right? Then somebody else will be kind of like looking into your code. That time their life becomes easier if you write such comments for code. Okay, that is why it is a best practice to follow these things. Try to give as much comments as possible. Okay, so let us wind up our session today, and we'll connect on Saturday, and you will most probably we will have the class at the same time. Okay, hope you people don't have any issues in having class on Saturday at the same time, that is 8 o'clock CT. Okay, let us tomorrow we will not have class. Let us wind up this class. Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks everyone for attending this class. Hope you learned something today. Thank you very much.